And I think one of the reasons for that, why he struggles against the very best in the world, has been also Arjun's biggest strength, his brand of chess. You know, when he brings on those attacks, those chaotic positions which require players to calculate and be precise, Arjun's awesome at that. But he finds it difficult to be a more universal player, you know, to hold, to play safe, to play maybe that, to have that cautious approach when it's needed. It's been sort of a struggle for him to kind of develop that more universal style of play. And against guys like Hikaru, you need to be playing every aspect of the game to the best of your ability.
Now, let me ask you a follow-up question to that, Tanya. Speaking of slowing things down, knowing when to hold back, are we going to see Hikaru go for the throat here and try and get the full point with black? Or is he saying, actually, I just need 2 draws, let's calm it down a bit?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, Hikaru's got so many wins with black in the last 2 days. You know, his first one against Magnus with the black pieces in the King's Indian. The only defeat that Magnus Carlsen has had here in Riyadh was that game. And for Hikaru, you know, even in this match, coming back with that victory that he did in round 3 with the black pieces. So I think if he gets that opportunity, if he gets the chance, he'll take it.
Okay.
But will he try to create those chances himself? I don't think so. I think he'll keep it as he knows that Arjun's the player who'll make it happen himself on the board.
Right.
You know, Arjun, he needs to. Arjun doesn't have an option. Hikaru doesn't need to take the fight to Arjun. It'll come to him.
So in other words, Hikaru knows that Arjun may need to take a risk, maybe needs to play 1 or 2 suboptimal moves on purpose to try and shake things up. And Hikaru, knowing that that's coming, it helps him understand where those critical positions will be. It helps him understand where he needs to slow down and think. And he will try and pounce and turn that inaccuracy, deliberate inaccuracy, I should add, into a full-blown mistake and really try to punish Arjun for it.
Exactly. That's his favorite role these days, Hikaru Nakamura. Just the counter-puncher. He just waits. He's super patient. He loves his endgames. Note how the 2 games that Hikaru won were after the queens came off. And it was only then did he press an advantage. And I think he's going to wait for that to happen again if he gets a chance to make it slower, or if Arjun goes full guns blazing at him, maybe sacrifices incorrectly, then Hikaru will wake up and try to score this full point. Hikaru would love a draw, though. Let's be honest. He would love this game. He would love to take it to Game 6 with the lead with white pieces.
100%. And I think that strategy that you're talking about, Hikaru, it works against everyone in the world.
Right.
Except a certain Magnus Carlsen. I think with Magnus, you need to create those chances yourself. You need to try to create the chaos on the board. But for Hikaru, you know what he does, this waiting game, it's perfect. And I think especially against a player like Arjun Erigaisi.
That's weird, isn't it? Chess is a game of complete information. You know exactly where your opponents and your pieces are at all times. And yet somehow some things work against some players and not others. It's part of what makes the game so beautiful. And in this situation, we have Arjun being the wilder of the 2 players and also basically needing to win on command. Nakamura will be thinking of ways to shut it down, but I'm looking forward to seeing what the potential counter-punches could be.
And in the meantime, this position, wow, pawn to f5 is very, very committal, opening up the black king somewhat, a very loosening move there. But Hikaru is fighting against this. I was going to say it's going to become very symmetrical, but white had a small advantage. Now, maybe white still has that small advantage, but anything but symmetrical. White has 3 pawns in front of his king, black has 2. Hikaru, in his attempts to shut this game down and prevent any active play, feels like he's weakened himself. A big, big shake of the head, prolonged one this time.
Yeah, it feels like no matter what you do in the middle of the board right now, that e-pawn currently on e6 is looking like a long-term target. No matter who you're playing, no matter what the position is, that is a very obvious question mark / target in the middle of the board for the white pieces to direct their attention to.
100%. That e6 pawn is weak, and if there's a d5 trade and that pawn lands there, that'll be weak there as well, with the white queen lined up against it. I think there are some practical problems for black in this position to solve. You know, if you trade the bishops on Arjun's turn, bishop takes bishop, rook takes bishop, huge weakness. Right. Easily can be taken on. And what we see right now, the trade as it's happened, after pawn takes pawn, the queen lines open up, bishop takes knight. In fact, d5 is hanging immediately. Hikaru might be forced to capture with the bishop, which means a long-term weakness, the isolated queen's pawn.
This is going to be a lot of suffering ahead from Hikaru. Maybe it's not too dramatic yet. The eval bar says nearly +1 for white. Really surprised Arjun didn't take the opportunity to open up the d-file for the white queen there. Maybe he'll get a second chance. But ultimately, it is a few things. It's the fact that black's pawns in the center are vulnerable, plus the fact that long-term the black king slightly open. And here, Arjun with a big time advantage as well. Dream start to the game here in his quest to come back.
Maybe it's because he doesn't have to. Maybe the c pawn can't be pushed to c4, also doesn't want to take on d4 and ruin the pawn structure, and white actually has time. There's no need to take on c5. I can take whenever I want. I'm just going to improve the position of the rest of my pieces and torture you a little while longer.
You know, one of the hardest things in chess is to keep tension on the board. It's something that I've struggled with a lot in my career as well, and I think players of all levels do. But I think these top guys, and I've seen this especially with Arjun, that if there's an option to just keep the trades as they are and not rush into it because that dynamic cannot change in the near future, he won't do it until it's absolutely forced. He will want to keep that tension, keep improving the position of his pieces. You know, get that rook out to d1, then think about capturing on c5. Meanwhile, Hikaru continues to activate some of his own pieces.
But I'm gonna, like, the counter argument to that is maybe taking a look back at game 3, Tanya. Arjun kept the tension on the board, kept things really complicated. He was pressuring from an advantageous position, and there's an argument to say that partially because of that, Hikaru seized the opportunity to turn that game around, and he ended up making it a victory.
Now, that's a great point, but you got to stick to your style, you know, because more often than not, that will work to you. And to decide when to do it, when not to do it, is the tough part about chess. The last few moves that have happened, David, the king sliding over, I think at some point, that tension in the center will get released. Maybe now with the bishop sniping across?
Yeah, now might be the moment. Very committal decision there from Hikaru. He didn't want to spend time investing to calculate there too deeply. As you say, Tanya, the white bishop I'm just going to show on the same diagonal as the black king, so watch out, Hikaru Nakamura. You have to keep your eye open for tactics a bit later. But for now, everything's covered, and black in return had some counter threats on the f2 square.
A little bit less forced as well, because queen takes d5 no longer came with check, I suppose. So just trying to force the issue a little bit and relieving a bit of the tension. And we're just adding a defender now to the f2 square. And once again, that pawn continues to look like the center of attention, for good reason.
Yeah, that bishop on b2 just reminds me of the bow and arrow that Magnus was referring to yesterday in his winner's speech after taking down one falcon. The white bishop, it's like an arrow staring across the board. But for now, Hikaru has everything covered, and a bit of a trap. Queen takes pawn would be a losing blunder here. If the white queen were to capture on d5, we would see a game-ending skewer. And you cannot allow that for Arjun. Of course, greed is not good here. We'll just show it on the board. Queen takes pawn. The black rook would slide across, and whoops, you find your rook undefended at the bottom of the board. The white queen would be forced out of the way, and rook takes, rook check. Black has extra material and a deadly attack against the white king. So Hikaru here defending his isolated queen's pawn with tactics, with some tricks. And yes, this is kind of chess 101 when it comes to back rankers, but all important as you try to turn the middle game in your favor. The knight jumps forward to block instead.
You know, there are two strategies when your opponent's got the isolated queen's pawn. Either you go for a direct attack against it, which Arjun tried, cannot capture it, cannot win that pawn. And the second strategy is you block it, you use a piece square in front of that pawn, which is the strongest spot for you in the position to replace your pieces to better squares. And usually, the one that belongs there is the knight. Place that knight in front of the isolated queen's pawn. It can't be kicked back. It's the strongest position for that knight, and that's what he finds. It also comes in with a threat. Knight to e6 at the right moment. Watch out.
Yeah, and this is another big moment. Arjun, in his desperation to avoid any tactics on the D file, might have opened up some tactics on the F file. Right now, Hikaru, we saw him kind of frown for a moment. He spent a lot of time. It looks like he might be tempted to give up his knight on the f2 square. He can take with the knight or the rook. And look at this. After the black knight gives itself up, we would see some trades. The white king coming forward. And it's the black queen now able to swoop in, take on h2. The black rook is coming next move to f8. The white king lacking shelter. The black bishop pins the white knight. Suddenly we could see a full turn of momentum. Black also gets 2 pawns for this sacrificed knight. It looks like the eval bar says this is the best way to go. Still a small advantage for Arjun, but this would be a real shock. Hikaru, will he go for this variation? Huge moment. If he doesn't, he might just find himself a bit passive. This might be his chance to strike Hikaru Nakamura. What do we think? Is he going to go for it?
I mean, he's thinking so long on this, right? 4 minutes now, plays 6.5, and I get that these guys are super quick on the clock, but if this gets up to something like a 3-minute advantage, not only are we going to have to commit, if we choose not to commit, we're then just playing the game out. 6 minutes versus 3, that's going to give Arjun Erigaisi a renewed sense of confidence.
Yeah, but it's on Hikaru to make that decision, and he goes for it.
Here we go.
Knight takes pawn, it's on the board. He wants to wrap this match up here and now.
Wow, this is a 3-result game. Hikaru is going to get a ferocious attack in return for the piece he's just sacrificed. He's even got those couple of pawns we mentioned. He spent a long time, 2 full minutes, pondering over whether to go for this, but Arjun looking calm, the heart rate still low. Can he react? It's so scary now for white. You never want to play chess with your king out in the open like this, especially if you're the one trying to attack, if you prefer being on the front foot. I think this is inspired by Hikaru Nakamura.
Absolutely. This is taking the fight to Arjun. This is the kind of stuff that Arjun does against his opponent. Huge threat on the board. Rook F8 check. It's not just a check. That G2 pawn is tender. That's a soft pawn. Queen takes pawn would be game over if it's allowed. Arjun has to find a way to not only defend the king, but do it in such a way that he doesn't lose his queen. Because queen f3 would have run into rook f8. Queen h3 offers a trade, defends that pawn. I don't believe Hikaru trades in this position. He's going to keep the queens on the board. He's going to go for Arjun's king.
No trades. White has the extra knight. Black's pawns are not so impressive right now. And, okay, it was just one check. The white king's actually trying to run away to the left half of the board. Give white 2 more moves. The white king will find safety again. So Hikaru needs to keep the queens on, needs to keep creating threats. And what do we think here? Tanya, you know Arjun so well, your teammates for India. Do you believe he's going to be able to defend this one?
I'll tell you one thing. Arjun's not going to be stressed or tensed about this position. You know, it's the kind of position which is crazy on the board, but this is where Arjun feels the calmest. This is where his nerves are absolutely chill. It's what he does for a living, are these kind of crazy, chaotic positions. But can he save this with the time on the clock? The good news, he's got the extra minutes. Hikaru continues with the checks. Arjun can use his queen to block it, offer a trade. Remember, any queen trade, great for Arjun. Game over for Hikaru. So it's pressure on Hikaru to keep the attack going. If he doesn't, Hikaru's lost.
Don't forget the clock pressure as well. It took him 3 minutes for that. The queen actually going back to h2, saying, okay, maybe the path forward isn't so clear. Are we interested maybe in doing any of this repetition stuff? But Arjun doesn't have to say yes to that.
Yep, Arjun will not be agreeing to a draw here. We're not repeating moves by sliding the white queen across to h3. He'll look for something else, look for something better. Ideas could include sliding the white king across, trying to bring that one to safety, although it does look a bit slow. You could defend that pawn with your queen, maybe even with your rook. It does feel like white has enough control for now to be able to defend.
But he needs to find a way, right? Because if you don't, it's a bit scary to face this as well, with the black queen and the rook. You know, yes, you can run with your king, but you're essentially giving black at least 3 pawns, which is more than enough compensation. So unless Arjun finds a good way to defend g2 and stop that check on e5, he might end up repeating and bail out in this position.
And here, the all-seeing engine, the computer, our silicon friend, says that this move is by far the best for white. Bring the queen to g5, and the key detail is you defend your pawn on g2, but you also attack this black pawn on d5, from where you also defend g2. This is the move we're looking for. If he finds it, Arjun, a big favorite.
Oh, he does!
It's 2 multi-purpose moves in a row. It's watching the g2 square, it's watching the e5 square, and guess what? The only other square the white queen can do that from is d5 after capturing the pawn.
You know, not just that, it was 3. Even g7 was a tender spot. Hikaru kicks the queen. He wins the pawn.
Hikaru reacted. He kind of leaned forward as if he might have missed this one. The black queen slides back, and there's a huge threat now. The black rook is trying to infiltrate on the second rank. The white king in the kill zone this time needs to run away as soon as it can.
Get it to the left side of the board. Rook f2 is a massive threat that will end in checkmate. Arjun locked in. He moves the rook, and that's a blunder. Hikaru Nakamura has a winning move right now.
Hikaru Nakamura, he needs to find the fact he can move his bishop to attack that rook. We'll just draw it with an arrow here. Bishop to b4 is a winning move that would tip white's defenses over. And no, he doesn't find it, Hikaru. Instead, he's going to trade rooks. This could be decisive now, white with an extra knight. Wow, missed opportunity. That was hidden. It's not obvious, I'm going to say, from Hikaru Nakamura. But he's chasing the white king now only towards safety.
When he had the option to give a check to make a small quiet move with the bishop taking away the escape route for the white king. Not an easy spot, but a huge miss there by Hikaru, which has now gotten In fact, Arjun back on the winning advantage as his king runs to safety, an extra piece on the board. And once it's Arjun on the attack with that bishop on b2 and the queen on d5 combining, the knight jumping to e6, that would be game over. Hikaru has to continue giving the checks.
Look at this, the white king hiding amongst its own pieces. This is beautiful defense here. A lot of shelter for the white king. No important checks here. The only check black can give is from the queen, but that will be blocked by the white knight. Hikaru's running out of ammunition. Look at this, the eval bar slides all the way up in white's favor. Hikaru reacting. He's down at 1 minute as well. This has all gone wrong. Ice cold defense from Arjun. Such a difficult position. We can forgive the players the mistakes, but it's all about what's left on the board, and Hikaru out of threats.
And throughout this madness that happened, Arjun's heart rate did not go beyond 80. Again, it comes back to this point. These kind of positions, he's just Mr. Cool Guy. It's just so hard to get him tense, and that is it. Hikaru Nakamura resigns. Arjun Erigaisi equalizes.
2.5 in this third place match. We are going to be going to a game number 6, and that game number 6 is all square, which means a draw in the final game, tipping Armageddon. Wow, what a topsy-turvy game that was.